It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Surprise, surprise. Earlier, you and I were talking about the discussion on MSNBC about getting rid of President's Day because not all presidents are great.
Right.
Wonder who they're referring to. Was anybody talking about getting rid of President's Day last year?
No. No, they were not.
Or the year before?
Nope.
Or the year before that?
Nope.
Or the year before that?
Nope.
Or the year before that?
Yep.
Yep. You were following me.
Yep.
All right. You knew what year I was going at.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Well, then we said, let's forget about President's Day. Let's just have a Trump Day. And we just figured we would troll a little bit. Well, on Friday, I found out since we talked about that, Representative Claudia Tenney of New York, a Republican, introduced a bill Friday that would establish President Trump's birthday, June 14th, as a public holiday.
I said it earlier, and I was joking. I was just trolling. This might be a little trolling, too.
Well, I believe she is. This is professional trolling.
Yeah. Official trolling.
This is the best thing, the name of it. The Trump's Birthday and Flag Day Holiday Establishment Act. Oh, my gosh. Proposes the recognition of both Trump's birthday and Flag Day celebrated on June 14th as federal public holidays. Just as George Washington's birthday is codified as a federal holiday, President Trump's birthday should also be celebrated to recognize him as the founder of America's golden age. Tenney wrote on a social platform X on Monday. In a separate post Friday, shared after she introduced the Trump birthday bill, she said, "No modern president has been more pivotal for our country than Donald J. Trump. Today, I introduced legislation to designate Trump's birthday and Flag Day as a federal holiday, ensuring President Trump's contributions to American greatness are forever enshrined into law," she added. So there you go.
Well, and I'll go further than I did earlier on the whole Rushmore thing.
Mount Rushmore.
We'll take down, because I said we'll take down one and put him up. Then I thought, no, we'll take two down. We'll take them all down, and it will just be him.
Well, I think, I was thinking Rushmore, since yesterday was the anniversary of Rush 9. You could have Rush and him on there. Rush and Trump.
Yeah, I'd go for that. Yeah.
Look, if we're going to troll, let's troll.
Why not?
I mean, if we're going to troll.
Yeah, why not?
Thing is, I see all this stuff now. You've got surrogates and everybody else trolling too, and I haven't seen anything on social media yet, but somebody's going to complain about it. Somebody in Congress will. When they're blaming the plane crash in Toronto on Trump, good God, then it's like, okay, here we go. Let it go. They're going to respond to anything out there.
Yeah.
What was the other thing that was dumb that they responded to the other day? Something else that was like, come on.
Yeah.
Really? This is interesting, though. I know people want to hear this because, as you know, two cases yesterday. The one in California, a federal judge said, sorry, no, Elon Musk can continue to investigate. And then the attorney generals, it looks like, that judge, Tanya was Chutkan, I guess is her name. She's the one that was involved in one of the Trump lawfare things, really acknowledging there doesn't seem anything that she can do, based on the law, that the law gives Trump the ability to do it. Well, in the papers filed Got this from Margot Cleveland on X yesterday. Trump administration files sworn declaration explaining what authority Elon Musk has and doesn't have relevant to this case with the blue stain plaintiffs that are arguing that Musk is making decisions. Here it is, okay?
Okay.
And this is from the Director of Office Administration. This is the person in charge of all of this, John Fisher. I am the Director of Office of Administration. I've held that position since January 20th, 2025. In that capacity, I'm personally involved in the appointment of special government employees. I have personal knowledge of Mr. Elon Musk's employment status with the federal government. Mr. Musk is an employee of the White House office. He holds that position as a non-career special government employee. In that job, Mr. Musk is a senior advisor to the president. It is not uncommon for the president to have senior advisors who are special government employees. For instance, Anita Dunn was an influential senior advisor to President Biden while serving as a special government employee. In his role as a senior aide to the president, Mr. Musk has no greater authority than other senior White House advisors. Like other senior White House advisors, Mr. Musk has no actual or formal authority to make any government decisions himself. Mr. Musk can only advise the president and communicate the president's directive. The U.S. DOGE service is a component of the executive office of the president. The U.S. DOGE service temporary organization is within the U.S. DOGE service. Both are separate from the White House office. Mr. Musk is an employee in the White House office. He is not an employee of the U.S. DOGE service or the U.S. DOGE service temporary organization. Mr. Musk is not a U.S. DOGE service administrator. There you go. And as she writes there, that that's the legal argument, and the legal argument is a slam dunk.
Yeah, right.
It's slam dunk.
Yep. It's and again, it's under the authority of the president. We all know this. Anybody who's being an adult about this.
Yeah.
But I really believe that they know that Trump is onto something. It was clear early on, and I mean back in 2016, that Democrats didn't want Trump in office because they were afraid he would expose too many things. When he was running, you and I said back then in 2016, if he wins, we're probably going to learn a lot of things just on the fly. Oh, let me tell you about the UFOs. We got so many UFOs. Let me tell you about what happened with this and that. It's just all these, boom, well, what they were really afraid of when he talked about draining the swamp was doing just that, exposing everything that's going on. And we're seeing it now. Did he get a lot done in his first term? He didn't. And part of that has to do with the fact that there wasn't near the cooperation from his own party and backing from his own party. He didn't have near the team that he has now. You had liberals cross over and become big Trump supporters, and one of those is Elon Musk himself. And now is not only a supporter, he's a special government employee. And he's doing things that we should insist on. This should be the norm. We should have this kind of transparency always in the system when it comes to government spending and efficiency. The left is used to naming things something that are quite the opposite. Like the Inflation Reduction Act, the Affordable Care Act. And we said, well, the key word is act in those cases because it's all an act. It's not bringing down inflation, and the Affordable Care Act wasn't bringing back affordable care. Well, the Department of Government Efficiency is pointing out a number of things, and while they don't have the authority to get it done, it's going to take the president and the party on Capitol Hill to really get meaningful things done. They can point out the waste and fraud. The waste and fraud, there's no telling how big this is. I mean, I almost don't want to look, every time I wake up, I almost don't want to look at the headlines as to what they're going to find next. Because it's so massive to me right now, where we are right now, there is no telling what they could add to this and how much fraud there might be within the system. Look, if they find out, again, on whatever it might be, Social Security, okay, they've got these accounts open, but nobody's collecting on these accounts. They were just never closed. They were never properly closed. Well, okay, that's fine. Or somebody is collecting on a fraudulent account. Either way, we should know. These are things that the American people can easily get behind. You're not going to have any resistance except for on the left. When they don't want you to close down USAID. Well, as Michael Schellenberger pointed out, we brought it to you last week, the investigation that he's done that shows you how they were using this money. In the impeachment of Trump, they were using this essentially to get Trump. I would really love to know how much money was spent on the whole get Trump. Between the Russian hoax and the impeachment, I would love to know how much of taxpayer money went toward that purchase or toward that purpose. Or for them, a purchase. They really hate the idea of getting rid of this because they've been able to facilitate this. When John Kerry said a few months ago, free speech blocks our agenda. Well, how do you get around that? Well, go back to Obama and cap and trade. He realized he didn't need Congress to get cap and trade done. Well, then you start looking at what do you have available to you? Well, we have these departments where there's this money, things we can get done. We can use these to our political favor. And we can use these in order to target American citizens. That's not what any of this was about. And the fact that it hasn't been audited and we're just now learning this should be maddening to everybody. We should all be outraged that this has gone on for this long. And it should come to an end now. It should be over.
Well, I guess you could put it when it comes to, checking what's going on in government, what Jonathan Turley said here, if you could put up my volume. Thank you so much. Here we go.
Well, he's carrying out those campaign pledges. He wants to shrink government. Mm-hmm. He wants to find fraud. And to do that, he needs to look at the books.
Now, I think that John Kennedy, the senator from Louisiana, said it better. How can you find fraud if you don't look for fraud?
Yeah, exactly.
How can you find fraud if you're not allowed to look for the fraud?
Well, if you think about the conditioning over the years, it's like the fraud and waste, oh, fraud and waste. People said it so much inside the Beltway that the American public got used to it. You could ask somebody what's fraud and waste? For all they knew, it was a really bad morning show on the radio. Hey, everybody, welcome to Fraud and Waste in the Morning. It's
put down the bong. Waste.
Put the bong down. Coming up, we got some more spending.
To waste.
It's just,
fraud and waste.
Fraud and
Hi,
waste.
I'm fraud. I'm waste.
Hi, I'm fraud. He's waste. We're fraud and waste in the morning. It had just become cliche, passé.
Yeah. It has, yep.
It really didn't mean anything to anybody anymore because everybody would just shake their head. Yeah, well, government waste. Well, government waste. And then when you look at the very real things that are being uncovered here, it's scary as hell, and it needs to end.
866-98 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Gardeners, been doing some overwinter prep work to have your garden ready for this spring? See if this compares to this overwintering garden prep checklist from Cynthia Domingini of Kansas State University Extension. If you haven't yet,
clean up any remaining debris, leaves, and plant material that has died back.
Removing debris reduces overwintering pest and plant diseases, both in the soil and in plant materials.
You can put that in your compost heap if you have one, as long as you do turn tile regularly so that it will heat up.
Just don't compost debris that contains known plant disease.
If you're not sure, it's probably best just to dispose of that debris that you know has diseases on it.
Perhaps, gardeners, you have also clean garden tools in preparation for the spring.
Shovels and rakes, get any dirt off of those, sharpened pruners and metal shovels.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Reading from thehill.com on what's going on at the Hill, Eric. And the House Budget Committee last week advanced a budget resolution for one sprawling bill full of Trump's wish list items, getting the measure over the finish line after weeks of bitter infighting. The conference designed a vote in the full chamber as early as next week. That's the one bill. Oh, I can't wait to see the details on that one. But concerns among moderates and even some conservatives could stymie that plan. Meanwhile, Senate Republicans advance their own budget resolution through the Budget Committee shortly before the House last week, moving the ball forward on its two-track blueprint. The measure is likely to hit the floor for a vote next week. The two conferences have been at odds over strategy for months, racing each other to get a bill to the floor and seeing if either measure would get stuck in committee. But with both chambers past the first key hurdle, the path forward looks murky and has the potential to grow contentious as the party remains under intense pressure to pass the president's domestic policy priorities. What the budget resolution does is merely unlock the ability for us to go into committees and do budget reconciliation to make transformational change like the president talked about and implement the full agenda, said House GOP Conference Chair Lisa McClain on Sunday Morning Futures. I'm confident the House Republicans will carry through on that agenda. Senate Republicans are not holding their breath. The upper chamber is set to bring its budget resolution to the floor this week, making a major escalation in a push for a two-track strategy amid growing frustration with the House's progress. Senate Majority Leader John Thune has been the leading proponent of the push, which many Senate Republicans have clamored dating back months. The House, meanwhile, is back in session this week. Thune has tried to get on the same page as Speaker Mike Johnson, who sources already acknowledge is in a difficult position. But the Senate GOP believes the time is to act now, and they can ill afford to waste any more time, especially given the chance to put a win on the board during Trump's first 100 days before turning the attention of Republicans to tax cuts. We've talked about that before. Now, say this. I didn't know it would go this long, a month, with all this news with just executive orders.
Yeah.
So the news is still all good.
Yeah, for now.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Hot Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, the dumbest thing said over the weekend segment of the show. We have two.
I was going to say there can't be only one.
And we've got two nominees.
All right.
The first one is Margaret Brennan from Face the Nation. This is just incredible, and apparently CBS still has not responded to it. Now this goes along with CBS and 60 Minutes on their whole free speech segment with Germany.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
where they seem very sympathetic and approve and seem to be seem to give approval to Germany jailing people for wrong kind of speech, finding and even jailing them because it's now in the law. But this is Margaret Brennan, I don't know, blaming free speech for the Holocaust, which is just, I don't know what to say, but here it is.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
Well,
what is the weaponization of free speech to begin with?
I don't know.
What did that even mean?
It's like she's borrowing from other narratives, right?
Let me take a little bit from here,
right?
A little bit from over here,
right? Because we talk about weaponizing the DOJ and all of those things, the weaponization of free speech. Let me stop you right there. What does that mean?
And then we have to go to Bill Maher for the second one.
Mm-hmm.
This is stupid. This is just stupid. Bill Maher trying to play both sides.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
He's sort of trying to be like the arrogant independent.
Yeah.
Well, one side goes too far, the other side goes too far. Let me explain this. Well, Bill Maher, you are an idiot. You don't sound like an idiot. You are an idiot for this opinion. Listen to this on the radical transgender movement.
Here's my last one. Okay. Trans. Because Trump has gone way too far on this. He's at that place. This is what I always say, nobody can ever be in the middle.
No.
It always has to go from one pendulum swing to all the way to the other. So now we're back at there's only two sexes, which is ridiculous, although I'm glad I'm in one of the ones we're keeping.
What the hell is he talking about?
Where's the middle ground, Bill?
Yeah.
Where's that middle you're talking about? There are only two. And by the way, those people that are choosing to live as the opposite sex of which they were born are also choosing only one of the two, right?
Yeah.
They will tell you, well, I'm a man or I'm a woman. We can talk about what they are biologically, how they were born biologically, but they choose one of the two. You know, this whole, well, I'm gender fluid. You mean you don't know? You mean you're going to get back to me? I mean, what does that even mean?
I remember the one that was Native American fluid.
Yeah.
It's like, what does Native American have to do with sex?
Well, that's Elizabeth Warren.
It's like, it was like
lying about being Native American.
That's when they came up with, remember they had like 53 genders. Wow. Just amazing. If you want to know the failures of the Democrat Party over the last 20 years. There can be nothing. There can be that. This evidence to me is like, if I'm a Democrat operative, I'm worried about this poll. Rasmussen. Mark Mitchell put it out yesterday. The highest approval number for Trump in age groups. Trump has a 56% approval rating among 18 to 39-year-olds.
Wow. Wow.
And you know what that means? They have lost, the Democrats have lost the identity politics game.
Yeah. That's exactly what it means.
They have lost, and I include in identity politics class warfare, because you've been seeing that big time over the last couple of weeks since DOGE came into existence. You got two billionaires that are trying to run the government. Why do you have to say billionaires? Because to a Bernie Sanders, a billionaire is evil. To a significant portion of Democrats and people on the left, being a billionaire is in itself immoral and evil. Because why would you say that Elon Musk is automatically evil? We read you that Hill.com op-ed piece from the woman who's in one of the Social Security groups who said he's going to take away your benefits. All he wants is Social Security money to fill his own pockets. And he's saying it's waste and fraud and abuse, and he's just going to take money out of those people that have earned Social Security. What evidence is there of that? The evidence is he's a billionaire. Billionaires are bad. Democrats have lost the racial identity politics, the sex identity politics, and the class warfare with the young people.
Yep.
And young people, class warfare, you're 18 to 39, they've always viewed that as the easier demographic to get aboard on class warfare. Why? Those are the people just starting out. They don't have a lot.
Right. They're not at their earnings potential yet.
They're not at their earnings potential. These are the people that we can sell our envy and jealousy to.
Well, I guess eventually when you indoctrinate them to make them believe they'll never be wealthy, then eventually you're going to get a generation that believes, well, if I'm never wealthy, I don't care about somebody else's wealth. I don't have envy because it's not in my purview. I don't care about the wealth. I don't need the wealth. I mean, you do have a number of individuals in that group who don't believe in owning a car. They don't think it's worth it. They don't believe in all these things that, all right, I don't believe in owning a house. I don't think that's worth it. I'll find another way to get whatever it is I want out of life. And remember the two guys that wrote the book about don't live to work, work to live? And we're going to stop trying so hard. And maybe that was the beginning at the end. That goes back years.
I would also say that they've started listening to what people are saying. And they've started, I think that because of social media, I really do believe, we talked about the New York Times story and other stories out there about the Democrats scared to death because they don't own the media anymore.
Right.
And they cannot win. Independents are paying attention to what's online. You and I've talked about this. Even with all, in any free speech, in any truly free speech society, you're going to have misinformation, disinformation, lies, whatever. But the fact is, you and I can get through it, and young people probably scan quicker than we do. They can find out what the truth is. And you have seen younger liberals, and I say younger than me, that were Democrats that are furious. You know, they were able to sell the Charlottesville lie about President Trump. They're still selling it to some people, but it's easily checked on the internet. It doesn't take more than 5 seconds to figure out whether that was true or not.
Right.
And so people are finding out what's true and what's not true. I do believe that there's remember, 56% approval for Trump. There's still a significant portion against him.
Mm-hmm.
But it means, as we've always stated, all you need to get in any demographic is change 10 to 15% of it, and you can dominate for years in a country in politics.
Yep.
And the worst thing right now for Democrats across the board, and I know I've said it in a crude way, but it needs to be said in that way, in that blunt way. Democrats are losing because they suck on the issues. Mm-hmm. End of story.
Yep.
Not just suck on the issues, they're insane on the issues, and the public has figured out that you're actually working against my best self-interest.
Well, and who's coming after you and who's not, right? Who's actually helping me, who's actually hurting me?
Yeah.
Because maybe they didn't vote for Trump, but they don't see him as somebody who would come after them or who's out to hurt them necessarily. Look. Well, if you look at the left has they've been doing damage for decades, but I think in the last several years, more and more Americans look at it and go, well, wait a minute. Who's actually looking to do more damage? It's the Democrats. They're actually wanting to do more. Opening the border. Letting people out of jail. Well, where does that get you? Higher crime? And neighborhoods that are filled with people who aren't here legally. Well, nobody wants to live that way anymore. That's the other thing, too. Going along to get along or being a part of the in crowd or whatever reason it was where people were just, well, no, I support sanctuary city policy. The buses start showing up. Oh, we can't do this. Mayor of D.C. Oh, we're not equipped for this. Send them back to Texas. Nobody's equipped for it. It's why we have border laws that are now being enforced. Crime, the same thing. Well, that's not crime. Remember AOC trying to sell that? Oh, they're just trying to feed their families. These were organized theft rings that were going in and wiping shelves off stores or the shelves clear in stores and taking them out and creating a business online. The private sector found that when they hired their own private investigators to track where that stuff was ending up. They found out it was organized theft. Oh, they're just trying to feed their families. No, they're not. They're stealing, and you say they should get away with it. Well, Americans were done with that. By the way, that's part of the turn of Michael Rappaport. When he first started turning,
you're right. That's
saying,
where he turned,
oh, my God, I can't believe this is happening in my city.
Yep, you're right. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. What a week it's going to be. Just be interesting to see where the Senate goes on the budget and how the Republicans and Senate both look at that in a different way. And when it comes to those bills, now the first one from the Senate isn't going to be about the budget.
Right.
I believe they'll be more on the border or whatever. Be interesting to see if they can cut anything. Because all this talk is great, the billions and trillions and everything we hear, but at the end of the year, if we're still spending more, then people will look at it and say, something's up here. You've got the president, Elon Musk, talking about hundreds of billions. And Fox was talking yesterday apparently about people need to get a refund on their taxes because of this.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
And it's like,
I suspect that won't happen.
But I mean, that's the optimism being thrown out there,
right?
That there's so much being cut that, well, we can get a tax cut. That's not going to happen.
No.
And will we actually be able to cut that in the budget? Because it does no good if you cut $1 trillion from DOGE and Congress spends $1 trillion.
Right.
It's meaningless.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I guess we'll see where it goes. But there will have to be some moments that people look at as a benefit coming soon, and they have to be meaningful.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.